morning everyone. Today in this video I'm going to give you a tour of our front yard. Our house is a well-loved house. We enjoy living in it, and our garden, which we created, also is very loved, and we spend a lot of time here, me and my family. So we will start the tour from the front windows, and the area around our front windows is just recently developed. It's 2-3 years old. It was just grass there and several shrubs, foundation shrubs. We took them down, and this is what we did there. Come closer and I will show you. So the plan is still in development, but this is what is going to happen here. I planted beautiful roses here, and these are David Austin roses, Queen of Sweden. Beautiful, wonderful variety. The reason why I chose these roses is because they're very vertical in their nature. They're very slender, and I wanted to see them through the window. When I peek out through the window from my house, I wanted to be able to see the roses. And these roses are doing very well here. They are very slender. I was surprised how not bushy they are. And then I realized that they got trimmed by deer, because we have deer sometimes coming into our property, and since this area in front of our house is not protected by the fence, deer trimmed these beautiful roses. And I was thinking maybe I can install some sort of a protective fence here, but then I realized why I'm going to fight deer, because they're going to come here every year. So I might as well let these roses be somewhat slim, regularly trimmed by deer, and looks like they're doing okay there, even if they're missing several leaves here and there. Now in front of the roses I planted a row of boxwoods, and they are still small. They are in this ground for 2 years. They're beautiful little things. Again, boxwood green velvet, a fast-growing variety. I'm going to trim them. You see they're growing very well and healthy. I'm going to trim them for bushier growth next year. For whatever reason, this guy is of different color than this one. I hope this guy is doing okay. I hope it is not a different variety of boxwoods I was given by mistake, but we will see. So 2 Queen of Sweden roses. If they are going to continue being so vertical and so slim, maybe what I will do, I will eventually plant more Queen of Swedens here, maybe 3 more bushes, as David Austin recommends to plant 3 or 5 varieties, the same varieties, for a bigger effect. So you can just imagine a nice tall hedge, maybe 2 feet by 2 feet right here, and beautiful roses at the back. I think effect will be quite nice. Plus we will enjoy roses looking through the window. Next to these roses we do have hydrangea, and this hydrangea, the variety of this hydrangea is incredible hydrangea. Look how nice they are. They are young bushes. I planted them last fall, and look how quickly they grew. They're fast-growing varieties. I was deciding between Annabelle hydrangea and this incredible hydrangea, and they said that incredible hydrangea has very strong stems, and they are not easily toppled down by the rain. And as you can see, it was raining yesterday or today in the morning, and some of the stems went down a little bit, but the stronger ones, the newer one, are still standing. And this hydrangea will be 5 feet tall eventually. Maybe next year it will reach that height, and 5 feet across. So I wanted to close all this area. You see the bare stem of our tree here. It doesn't look very sightly. Plus we have some sort of all sorts of wires there. So I wanted to be covered with beautiful white blooms of our hydrangeas. Now here in front of our house we have 2 yews growing, actually 3 yew bushes, and they are not trimmed, as you can see. They're growing very happily here, and I am going to do a different way of trimming here. I'm not going to trim them anymore like balls. You see a lot of them being trimmed that way. I want to do it something different with them this year. You see how our house has a very strong 90-degree roof, maybe more than 90 degree. And I want to repeat that shape with these yews. They say you have to marry your house to the landscape, meaning that you have to repeat the elements of the house in your landscape around the house. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create straight sides here, and here I'm going to train one of these taller shoots eventually to have a ball here to repeat that shape of the circular window in the house, and I think it will look very interesting here. Something like this I'm going to do the same with, I will do the same with this bush here. I will create a little ball right here. It will take time, it's not quickly achieved. Yews are slow growing bushes, but they're so dependable and so disease resistant and drought tolerant. They are just, I think they are underappreciated, beautiful things around our gardens. So many houses have yews around their properties that these bushes probably, they are like quiet giants of our gardens. I love them. We have several of them on the property and they are just delightful. Now, when you look to the front strip of our garden right here, this was grass. When we moved here, there was nothing, just grass. Grass to the left of our to the left neighbor and grass to the right neighbor. And I decided, we talked to my husband and we decided to do hydrangeas here and trees. We planted these maple trees, and I think it probably was a mistake because maple trees are very hungry trees and barely anything survives under their roots. So this strip of this front flower bed needs a lot of attention, especially watering and feeding. But hydrangeas did very well this year because we had a very mild winter, and look how many blossoms these hydrangeas are going to have. They were severely damaged by the plows, snow plows machines, and I thought, this is the end to my hydrangeas. We are not going to have a lot of blossoms. But we are, and when they are in full bloom, I'm going to show you these beauties. Look, they're coming up. And this is actually the first year when these hydrangeas changed color from blue to pink. What it means is that the soil in which hydrangeas are growing are becoming less acidic. It's changing acidity level. So, and I don't mind the pink flowers, I like them. If one year I would like to make the soil more acidic, then our hydrangeas would be blue again. Now this is our peonies. Peonies are reliable perennials. As you can see, they are not in bloom right now, but I still appreciate peonies for their beautiful foliage, which is very different here together with hydrangeas. They play well. Now look at this beautiful handsome shrub, and all the names of the plants I'm going to put at the bottom of my video. Look at this beautiful thing, how wonderfully it grows. It's a hydrangea, and it's doing very well here in a semi-shade. I do have to water it, it's sensitive to drought a little bit, but look how delightful it is, with wonderful blossoms. It's not in full bloom yet, it's still opening all its petals, but it's beautiful. Everybody who walk around comment on it, how beautiful it is. Next we have hydrangea here again. This hydrangea is much smaller, and I cannot figure out why this hydrangea is smaller and the next one is even smaller than this. I suspect that we have a lot of cold winds coming this way, and that hydrangea is getting a lot of cold winter air, which kills all the fresh buds. Oh, look at these yarrow flowers getting almost finished with their blooms, and look at this bumblebee. Beautiful flowers. So here we have 2 vegetable beds and space is very limited. So we have parsley, curled parsley, all sorts of spices here growing. Those are little oregano, all sorts of different spices, dill. Here, this one is, look at this. This is little boxwood, which was planted this year, and he's slightly drought tolerant, drought sensitive. Look how his leaves are yellowed. So I worry that he wouldn't survive the winter, but if he does, he will be a nice round ball right here, and I think it will look very interesting. This round ball, and then we will have a round ball on that yew, so it will kind of echo each other, that shape in the garden. It will look very interesting. Now here, this is a new addition too to our garden. Look at this little guy. He is black currant bush. I grew up in Ukraine, and Ukraine, in our gardens, we had all sorts of bushes, all sorts of berry bushes. So this is like a nod to my childhood. Oh, there is actually a little berry here. Believe it or not. Look at this. A bush created a berry. Funny. All right, so this is something which takes roots in my childhood, the black currant bushes. They are allowed in Connecticut. I know that in other states, particularly in Maine, black currants are not allowed to plant because of the disease they host. I believe white pine rust disease. I'm not sure. So this is it. This is black currant bush here. Now, come, I will show you what's going here. This is red currant bush. And he is slightly struggling with all the heat we receive here. So I have to make sure that I water him very well going into winter, because he is struggling type. Here we have tomatoes. You see, the tomatoes are being invaded by peas. I have to stock peas. Oh, the first pea is here. Then we have potatoes right there. And in front, just look at these blossoms. And these are wonderful catmints. I have probably 6 or 7 bushes here, and they love heat and they love sun, and they are so drought tolerant. And as you can see, all the bumblebees love them. Sometimes when I garden here, in the middle of the quiet day, I can hear all the buzzing of the bumblebees. Now between our 2 vegetable beds, I did a stone wall. And you know how I was surprised that it's holding so well? What I did, I just put a layer, maybe 2 inches of fast hardening cement, and into the cement I toppled stones. And you can see some of them fell out because I didn't press them in too hard into the cement. But otherwise, this little path is here for good 3 years already, and it's doing very well. I like it. There is no dirt here, you don't need to mow here. It looks very authentic and nice looking, and it didn't crack for 3 years already. I also want to show you this very interesting plant. The name of this plant is false indigo, and I was reading a lot about it, and I decided to plant it here. It's not the ideal location for this plant because this false indigo loves sun. And why this plant is so interesting is it has a very long top root. It goes probably 12-15 feet down. And because this plant has such a long top root, it withstands any drought possible. So if you have somewhere on your property a very difficult dry location, baking under the sun, I would advise you to consider this beautiful plant, which becomes bushy and bigger with age every year. The only thing is it needs sun to become bushy and big, and plus in spring it has gorgeous, beautiful spikes of flowers, which are just arresting in the garden, the wonderful clean blue color. This plant thrives in the sun, and it gets bushy and bigger every year. It probably needs another several years to reach its potential. Last year, which was much narrower, but look how nice and big it is. And when the flowers fade, this false indigo starts forming these wonderful, funny looking pods, which will become dark with age, and they will have seeds inside. Very interesting looking. So if I want to have more of this false indigo in my property, I should plant the seeds right away. I shouldn't keep them through the winter because they get really hard and it's harder for them to germinate. Just in case you want to know something important about this plant. But it's a really valuable thing. I love it. Here, very bushy, not a single drop of water I put on its root system. It takes care of its own because of such a deep root system. The only thing, if you want to move this plant, you wouldn't be able to do it because of that top root going so deep. If you cut it, this plant would not survive. So if you want to have it on your property, plant it with care, knowing that this plant would not be able to move eventually. Now here we have, on another side of our driveway, we have another hydrangea which sustained some damage from the snowplow machine. Survived, a little choppy as you can see here. What can you do? But it will blossom this year. In order to save on maintenance, I underplanted with creeping phlox. It's a great ground cover. Look how tough it is. It spills over. It wants to really spill over the edges. Here it doesn't have enough of space, but it still does it with a bountiful habit. It finished blossoming in spring. It had a wonderful blossom, and now it's just getting a little tired looking, but still it's doing very well here. It takes care after mowing and taking care of this area around the hydrangea. As you can see, it's a nice finish here on both sides of our driveway here. Now, and when you go further, we have our flower bed, which was also grass when we moved into this area. So we planted all these roses. You can see roses there. They already finished blooming. That's a knockout rose, the pink one. This one is a yellow rose. I really don't know what the variety is. It's definitely not David Austin rose. Quite a sickish little thing. My husband doesn't want to take it out. I do. So maybe one day eventually. And here behind here, look at this. These are the happy chorus of lamb's ears. Look, I bought them only as little pot, and through years they are marching through. Look how they are invading their space. They are true ground cover. They will just push away everything on their way. And last year I took a lot of them out to propagate them in the front flower bed, as I showed you. And look at still, nothing stopped them. I feel like I have to, from the edges, I have to cut all them out from the edges and replant them somewhere else, because they're just marching on, pushing everything away. Look at these beautiful Shasta daisies. Oh, I think I have like 8 or 10 bushes here, 8 or 10 plants here. Look how cheerful they are, just coming up. Aren't they lovely? A big presence right now in the garden. And of course, look at those foxgloves, the peach ones. Shy fellows, but very interesting. Now here, this is a wonderful leaping larch, very unusual tree. It came with the garden, and we make sure that we keep it going. It's an old tree. It's probably already 25 years old. Look how interesting it is, very unusual. I see it very graceful tree growing so strong here on our property. You might look at our house and say, what's the story with the flowers on the house? Well, the house was gray when we moved in, and I'm Ukrainian, and we have a certain village in Ukraine where people traditionally paint their houses in all sorts of beautiful flowers, and I always love to look at those flowers, look at those houses, and I said to myself, I am going to do the same thing to our house. So we talked to our neighbors if our neighbors are okay, because they're going to look at my house too, and I painted the flowers. And now everybody who walks by loves a painted house. I think it looks good. So thank you for coming with me on the tour of my front garden. I hope you like it, and I will see you next time.